Welcome, Quilt Roadies. Today is Eastmoreland Day. I should say this morning is Eastmoreland Day. The weather is really going to be spectacular this week, and so I want to go swimming later today, and then I have a big potluck with friends this afternoon in which G is making his fabulous vegan chili, of which there is no recipe because the guy cooks like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Maybe that's why his stuff turns out and mine doesn't, because I'm like so focused on the exact amount on a recipe. But it looks like it's going to be a wonderful day, and I wanted to get started with a project before it got away from me. And Eastmoreland was it, because of course I don't have enough handwork. Yeah, so I just have to add some more. Yesterday we got together with a bunch of friends and played dominoes. I haven't played that in a long time, and this was called chicken dominoes. I wasn't sure us vegans could play it, but they let us play. So it was just a whole lot of fun, And we played until I couldn't stand it. It was getting too cold, and I had to go home because we were sitting outside. But let's get to it. I want to preface always that these are not tutorials that I do. Tutorials, by their very definition, means that I really might know what I'm doing and I would follow the directions. So there it is right there. I've got it right out on top, is that I only go back and read the directions when I get stuck on something. I know you're supposed to read that first. You're supposed to take the test by reading all the way through, and I was never that person. You know, I barreled through, and it worked for me. But so I would say that what I'm showing you on Quilt Roadies is not tutorials. It is the way I do it. And so you might find that by reading the directions and doing it either the designer's way or your own way, it might work better for you. So this process that I do is because of this brain. Yeah. And you know, on my last MRI, they found a little thing in the very center of my brain. So I have to get a name for it, but I always attribute everything I do wrong and everything spectacular to my little friend. So Eastmoreland, it is a pattern by Schmitz, who is one of my favorite designers. I have this list of favorite designers, and she is definitely in that top list. Not only because her designs appeal to me, but I'm kind of like a whole package person. So if I love a design and then I end up loving the designer, it's done. It's done. And Kathy is just one of those sweet people, kind soul, and you can see it come through on all of her designs. And so I have been a long time fan. And this one appealed to me like, wow, as soon as I saw it. It's little houses. And I love that the look of it, because I didn't grow up in a picture-perfect neighborhood. I grew up in a neighborhood like this. And I love that there are people who have been sharing with me that they have turned this particular pattern into their own town, you know, labeling things. making it more personalized, and I love that. I love taking a pattern and somehow putting a little bit of myself into it. And so I think I'm going to put different addresses that both G and I have lived at, because I just think that's so sweet. So what I did, just so you know how I roll here, I took my piece of flannel and I backed it with a Pellon product called SF101, which is a fusible interfacing, and it is very lightweight. I use it on the back of cotton and flannel and wool that I'm hand stitching, because I don't like that puckering or stretching that you get, especially on wool. And it's not hard to needle through at all. And if you find it hard, it's because your needle needs to be changed. Yeah, needles are not meant to be used until you die. Yeah, you should change your needle every so often. But I like that. I like this product on the back of my projects because it provides kind of like a, I don't know if you call it a fail-safe to my tension. My stitching tension just seems to be better, and best of all, especially on embroidery, you can carry over and you can't see it through the front. Yeah, that's a bonus. So I have backed my flannel with Pellon SF101, and then I figured out the size of my project, and I basted that size around the edge so that I could know what my parameters were. It's my fence line is what it is. And I'm not sure if you see on her, and there are instructions on how to stitch that border. Right around here, there's like an X stitch all the way around, and then there's kind of like a fencing stitch or a blanket stitch or whatever, however you want to do it around that. I'm not too sure I want to do that final stitch out there, and it sounds like you're supposed to do that first, but I don't know. I want to get to the fun part. I want to eat my dessert before I have to eat my vegetables. But what I'm hoping will work out for me is that this basting stitch that I put all the way around, I am going to do the X stitch all the way around, and this will be, the basting stitch will be the center of my X. So I'll have a guide already, and it doesn't have to be perfect because this is more of a primitive style wall hanging. Nothing is matchy-matchy. This neighborhood doesn't have an HOA. So that's what I'm doing. And then what I'll do when I start laying my houses down is I'm going to, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. So I'll kind of divide this up into 5 rows with a chalk line. And it's not that every house will sit on the chalk line, because if you look, some of the houses are not quite, it's not like on a straight line. So I'm going to just draw a chalk line so I divide this up approximately, and then I'll lay my houses out. Now there are 30 houses, so the way I did it is I drew on some, well, I didn't have freezer paper or cardstock, so I took an envelope and I drew all my pieces out that were in the pattern, all the different shapes. I drew them out and cut them out. And then I took a sheet of my favorite fusible, which is soft fuse. It comes in a roll. And this is where I wanted to talk about fusibles. They are not all made the same. They have different functions. They work differently. And depending on the climate, you could get a different result. So I know for me, where I kind of live and travel through, soft fuse has been a great fusible for my wool and cotton. I know that Robin, my girlfriend Robin, she went on I think this was when she went on a medical mission to Ecuador one year. She took her stitching with her that had fusible on it. Or maybe when she went to Costa Rica. Anyway, she took her projects to stitch on that have fusible on it, and it basically got gummy and melted from the humidity. So there is, I think there is a difference depending on where you are, but I've tried them all, and I really love soft fuse. Of course, that hot fix that I talked about has broken open the game, although I have not used it with my hand stitching yet. It'll be interesting to try that. I've only used it where you just fused it on a little shirt. So what I did was I took a sheet of soft fuse, and here's a little piece of it left here, and I traced all these pieces, all these different pieces on the soft fuse. And then I cut it up and I laid out the packs. Now this particular pattern is done with a charm pack. And the charm pack that I am using, you could use scraps. It's an awesome project to use up scraps if you want. But what I ended up using is Kathy Schmitz home line, and this is one of those little 2.5-inch charm packs, and it gives you a variety of the whole line that's available. And so I laid that out on my board, and there are 30. I could only fit, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I've laid out more than I need, but not everything fit on these, and I want a variety. I did not stress about what piece I want on what. All I did, because I just want to have fun, is I laid my little 2.5-inch squares with the wrong side up on my pressing board, and then I started cutting apart my soft fuse and laying it down here. And then I just started steaming it with my Panasonic cordless iron. Now this cordless iron is by Panasonic, and I have to say that there is no perfect iron, no perfect sewing machine. They're all going to break down someday, or have issues someday, or something's going to have to get fixed, or you're going to need a new one. I have no problem saying that once this Panasonic cordless iron gives up the ghost, I'm going to buy another one, because I love the convenience of it. Not having to have a cord drag around when you're in a van traveling, and you're actually doing your ironing on your stove top with the cutting board over the top of it. It's so nice not to have to deal with a cord. And so when this breaks, I'll be getting another one. So what I'm doing now is I've pressed all of these pieces with the fusible on the wrong side. And I'm turning them over to give them a second press. On the right side. Oh, I just love these fabrics. You know what, I love fabrics that have words written on them. It's, ooh, I would love it if Home Sweet Home ended up on the, in the middle of a rooftop. So after I press these, I will start cutting them out and piling up the pieces. And once I have all the pieces, then I'll start building my houses. And I think it's going to be fun. And if I think, oh my gosh, this neighborhood is looking like a junky neighborhood, or I need some different fabrics, I have this whole other pack that I can pull some colors. But I didn't stress about which ones went on which. I just laid them out and started fusing, and then I'll be dealing with how I like the balance of my neighborhood. But since this neighborhood has no HOA and no CC&Rs and no president or board that has to approve, I get to put whatever I want in this neighborhood. Okay. So the next step will be to cut out all these pieces. And this is the thing, you don't have to cut on the line. No, you don't have to color in the line either. So I'm just going to cut out all these pieces, and then I'm going to start layering them onto my background. And I'll just tell you up front, let me get the pattern itself. The pattern has let's see. Each house has a bit of stitching to secure it in place and to add a little personality. You can even try different stitches. Mix it up. Keep in mind that you save enough of your wheat husk pearl cotton to stitch the trees. The trees, I love this. I absolutely love this. The trees are freehand. And I know there's going to be those stitchers who want to have the trees in the pattern, you know, to draw them on. But all I'm going to do is freehand it. I might take a chalk pencil and just draw myself a line, but other than that, and just think if you want to add buttons, oh, it is going to be fabulous. So the next step in this process, cut out my houses and my roofs. So I've cut out all of my pieces, and I have my house body. Now I'm turning into a construction worker. I have my roofs, I have my doors, and I did an approximate measurement of my background and drew a chalk line so that I would have 5 rows to build my town on. And now it's a matter of mixing and matching everything. And so I'm peeling off the back and setting my houses down. So cute. And once I kind of get everything laid out the way I want it, not being too precise about it all, I will slip my my June Taylor ironing pad that's ironing board on one side and a cutting board on the other underneath this, and then I will bring my cordless iron over here and set everything. Then it'll be, so there looks like there's 6 houses in each row. And I love that they are not, they don't have to be set in a straight line. You know, you can adjust them. Gosh, this is going to be cute. I think I have mentioned it before, but did you know that Kathy Schmitz's sister is Bonnie Sullivan? And it's a wonder. I love her patterns also. All that talent in one family. There's going to be a lot. This is reminds me of a Sue Spargo type project, in that you probably could never, if you let yourself, you probably could never finish the embroidery, because you could add and add and add. So I think what I'm doing right now is just kind of putting all the house bodies down, and then I will add the roofs. I'll add the roofs and doors. And then I'll be able to tell how much I have, or if I need to add anything else. The best part of this project is there's no real rules. No rules. So have you guys been working on anything that I should know about? Because of course I need more projects. I have a great desire to head home to the beehive. I know one of the first things I'm going to be working on is my octopus, because I would like that to be in the sister show. And since I'm probably going to be quilting it myself, I will need to get working on that. But I think I'm pretty close. If I remember, I'm really close. My dad at one point in his life was a contractor. He was actually taught, he was a realtor. Well, let's see, he was a jack of all trades, let me just say. He was a photographer in the Army. He was an insurance salesman. He was a prison guard. That didn't last too long. He didn't have the temperament for it. And while he was a prison guard, he studied for his real estate license. And after he opened a couple of offices, he decided he needed to actually do some building. And so he was taught how to build houses from a woman. Yeah, she was the only female contractor that I know of in California at the time. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I'm doing it right. And so her name was Louise, and I could see him and her climbing around on rooftops, building houses. He built apartment houses and homes, and in one of his homes that he built, he let me pick out all the fixtures. I was a teenager. Oh my gosh. That house was something else. Yeah. But it was fun. It was fun to be given that power. So here I am. I'm now a senior citizen, and I'm building houses. I'm building a whole town. Oops. Peeling this off. Well, maybe I'll give this a pause because this will take a while and you guys could be doing something else. But by the time you come back, I'll have my whole town laid out. I have finished prepping Eastmoreland, and it turned out, if I do say so myself, absolutely perfect. I had drawn the chalk lines, and because the pattern itself is more of a folk art look to it, there was no like have to be perfect about it. And so what I did was I first laid out all the buildings, and I kind of saw how I might want to mix up the buildings, and then I put all the roofs on top and kind of mix those up, and I had the perfect number of roofs and buildings because I had my templates that I had drawn, and I knew how many of each. So I had my baggie of templates, and I knew how many of each I needed to draw on my fusible. And then I drew my doors, and there weren't as many doors as homes, because some of the doorways, if you look on the pattern, are using ribbon, and I had, because I had bought a kit, there was a little bit of ribbon, a little bit of rickrack and buttons, and also Kathy on her site had a free download where you could print off onto fabric some motifs. So you might want to check that out. I am going to wait to do all of that till I get back to Sisters, because I have a ton of embellishments, and this screams embellishments. Now the 3 threads that she uses, because of the color palette she's using, are Valdani threads, and it's 514, P1, and 531, and they were all 12 weights. And so let me just show them to you this. So red, white, and Wally, he is so anxious about life, and so he's out there having issues. So now my top is done, and let me show you. I used my June Taylor mat, and I fused them down all at once, and then I, fused from the back too, so because when I travel I can't lose my pieces, and that's why I use a lot of fusible, is because I can't lose my pieces because I'm always traveling. Well, thank you for hanging out and working with me through this process. If you are interested in Eastmoreland, you can go to Kathy Schmitz's site, and you won't be disappointed with her patterns. Her patterns are just lovely and really strike at the heart. So be sure to do that. I won't steer you wrong. Thank you for hanging. I would appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe to the channel if you watched it. And you can hit that little bell and it'll send out a notification whenever I have another video. And as you know, G and I, we continue to struggle with the Wi-Fi, but we're living with it. It just means that we can't do as many as we would like because the upload just takes so long. But, in the scheme of world issues, that's a small one. So, again, thank you so much. And now I'm going out to enjoy the day.